is up, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, day traders, cloud swing traders? Hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. So you guys are piling in. We got Al in the house. Good morning, Albert. Up bright and early. Good morning to Bill. Cindy's in the house. Good morning. We got Eric, George, Jay, JT, Kevin's in the house. Good morning, Liza, Lauren, Marius. We got all my peeps out in YouTube land. We got Joe. We got Santilla. All my YouTube people in the background just sitting quiet. It's okay. I still love you. We got Oxy from Joe coming in already. Yeah, let's take a look at the we'll take a look at the markets. This is gonna be, I think, probably still decent volume in the morning. We might still have some okay volume throughout the day today, and then as this week progresses, we're going to start dropping some volume. So it doesn't mean it's in a no trade zone. It just means that things could get maybe a little bit more choppy than we've seen. I don't know how you. I feel like 2023 has been a pretty choppy year in general, but you might not get as great of fills. You might not get out when you want to. There's going to be a lot of that back and forth, but for the most part, I think the morning's still decent to trade, and then especially as the day continues. But still a little bit of there's still a little volume today. Next week, I think we just pretty much drop off and not we stay kind of more range bound than anything else. But at least for today, we have the SPY gapping up again. So trying to figure out where this pullback would really make sense. Let's see. Really, if I was to draw a fib somewhere, my move started about here. And if that's the current move that we've had, we're getting a bounce somewhere at the 23% retracement. So it's not really a strong retracement. I do have one level above us. It's 471.68. So that could act as a little bit of resistance. This is technically a gap and go today. The other thing, I mean, if we were just kind of retracing this candle, is what I was debating a little bit. We have a big, strong breakout. Everything looks bullish. And then this is our pullback into the 618. So if that's the case, that's a good pullback short term. Longer term, I think we'd have to pull back a little bit more just to really come in where this move started. But that is a decent spot for some kind of a balance after a nice, big, bullish candle. No wick at the top. This was Friday, Thursday, so Wednesday. And then we did have this retest gap. So we're still bullish on this day, and we're going to retest. What's a good spot to retest to? Probably that 618. So that's not bad. Not a bad pullback in a small time frame, I would guess. But so that would leave me a little bit more bullish, especially with the gap and go today. I do have to watch out for that resistance 471.73. And then I don't know. Do we have any do we have anything else at this point? I'm looking at one VPOC from here. That would take us to 471.03. So the other one I think is a little higher than that. And then there's really nothing stopping us up until 475.88 would be the next location. So we have plenty of room to the higher side. Watch that low from Friday. If that low from Friday breaks, then we've already gone past that retest of that bullish breakout candle. So then I think we do get a further pullback. I would say at least 464.54. If not, we start to almost retrace down to 460, 458. I don't think any of that happens today, but it is a stock market. It is a stock market. So we'll see. We'll check out the Qs. The Qs inside day, so not as sweet of a gap and go. I do look at a resistance somewhere at 405, let's say 58, 405.50, somewhere in that zone. Should be our next resistance. This would be day 2 of opening inside this high wave candle. We had some good bullish volume, or we had some good volume on Friday, at least for the Qs. Whether that's bullish or bearish, it is slightly more bullish just because the candle's green and we did close a little bit higher than we opened. And then I'm looking for support on the Qs somewhere around 403.33. Otherwise, longer term, this trend is still intact. We haven't really broke down anything. We're just more of a resting period at this point. Let some of those moving averages catch up. So again, if the SPY is able to break out, if I would be watching the SPY a little bit more. I think that would be more of the leading indicator today than the Qs. The Qs are a little bit range bound, and I I would think that they could sit here for a little bit, but if we could get some more momentum on the SPY, maybe that's enough to bring the Qs out of this 405.58 range. And then that would take us to, I mean, we're really getting to a point we have nothing else to look at. Right at the top of this candle, that's 405.58. So that's the level we've said. If we could break that, I guess we're looking really for 408.65, somewhere towards the top of this wick. So we got not really a lot of resistance above us. We got to just make one little more strong push, and then we could have a pretty good day. TLT. What a recovery on TLT. I got a big resistance sitting at 101.90, 101.84. And we are starting to get a little bit closer to that higher volume range. This is today, though, a gap down. We're at that level that the bulls kind of have to save it. Otherwise, we could see a pullback, I would say, at least to 96.68. So it's not huge. And then maybe back to 95.02. But this is a bearish gap and go. So maybe we found a little sign of some kind of weakness, at least today, if the bonds are coming down. But we're still in a much better range up here than we were all the way down there. And bonds don't typically move that much. We will see. All right, so the first one I saw was Oxy. Oxy, nice little gap up off the lows. Also above a big volume area. This is technically, these are retest gaps, both of them. This is a bullish gap up. There's your green candle the day before. So this should be retesting. So this all, I think, is still a little bit more to the bullish direction. Gapping above two red candles. We still got this one. We're not quite out of that little high wave yet. Or wick. Quite yet. Probably a little resistance still comes in, maybe around $60.17. Maybe we get to like $60.31. But that is a good bullish reversal signal. This is a lot of volume in a bearish direction. People were freaking out on this day. You could tell a decent amount of people were. And then you essentially put in a bullish engulfing candle after that. I think we're still playing on that momentum, and we had two little rest days. So I'd be definitely leaning in the bullish direction. I do see some targets that could get in the way first, but otherwise, it's not even I mean, that would make sense that a lot of volume came in there. We're starting to break down some pretty key levels on Oxy. Looks like we're going to stay in there, recover. And then if we do want to retest a little bit, it is still inside from Thursday. I would be leaning on support around 58.68. But I'd want to remain, and this is a decent level here. I got 3 touch points, so we got 1, 2, 3. We're pretty much at that support resistance now. We did reject it once, so watch that initial level. I would like to see this one come down first at open and then start to push up. I think we get a stronger move if that does happen. Let's take a look at, we got Neo. We're right into the was it the 100 moving average, I think? We're right into the 200. No, my bad. Yep, we're into the 100. With this gap up. Even though that's a red candle, again, that was actually a retest gap as well. So it did end red. Into a little bit of resistance. I think this one fades. Again, I don't know if I'd want to play that short. Let's see what the news is. After the company announced a strategic equity investment in CYVN Holdings, what happened? You entered into a share subscription agreement to CYVN, in which you invested $2.2 billion of cash to subscribe to 294 million newly issued Class A shares for $7.50 per share. Okay. Biggest volume on the chart is this candle right here. So if we're really going to get crazy, we'd have to break out of that. I don't think that happens today. And like I said, we're into a little bit of resistance. Might be one to keep on the list. If you want to go short, maybe. I mean, I would almost treat this thing as a retest gap, but I don't think I'd be going long on it until we did at least pull back to like 825. And then I might be a little more interested in flipping and going bullish. But if you're not like me and you're not a scaredy cat, you could probably wait for a green candle up and then try to play that one to the downside. Adobe. Adobe, here's another one right into that previous resistance. So I see something 595.85 somewhere in that zone. Technically a retest gap from Friday, but I would count this a little bit more as a gap and go, just because that's still technically inside day of Thursday. So we're gonna have to watch that resistance right there. This is also a retest gap down. So this is a red candle gapping down. The spot that the gap opened at makes it a little bit more severe, but technically we didn't close that gap yet. So I would put, I mean, if we have a really good day, and again, we're gonna have at least 2 levels of resistance into it. I would say target for today on a good day, probably 608.35. On a crazy good day, I'd be looking for that 622.62. I don't know if we get that today though. But that's your first little spot of resistance right where we're opening now. So if we could push a little bit higher, come back, retest it, and then maybe look into that high 608 zone, low 609 zone, I think could be a decent target for it. SPWR. SunPower had some bad news. It definitely looks like it. They got downgrade. Now TradingView got some bad news too, looks like. It's bad when you say, okay, the stock's got some bad news, and they just go, it doesn't look, it didn't go very very well. Let's see if I can pull it up again. News didn't load. Looks like that didn't go very well. Yeah. Uh-huh. That's all you need to know, really. Yeah, I got all my news didn't go very well. So I don't know exactly what the news is, but that is a pretty horrific gap down. Still into a little bit of longer term support. This company looks like they've been losing money for quite some time, so stability or at least missing earnings. Let's see if that's also missed on revenue 21 million. This is the company who's already been. This is how you kick them when they're down, I think. Mm-hmm. You're not at zero yet. Bad news. What is it? We won't tell you. It's broken. The company of the news, both. Sell everything. SunPower. Yeah, that's that's a lot of volume that we had on those last 3 days as well. I think we trapped a lot of people. I think this one still comes down. Even though we're at some kind of a decent and okay, even that support resistance, I would put that probably at 455. So we're below that by 5 cents at this point. Again, I don't know how much this wants to sell, but I think we'd probably take it to $4. It's also under $5, so it becomes a little bit tougher to day trade on a normal day. Then you're going to throw in some right before holiday volume. SCDG has a sympathy. SunPower Corp says substantial doubt exists about the company's ability to continue as a going concern. Yeah, that's not good. I mean, you have SolarEdge coming down too. Similar earnings, maybe. The chart looks pretty identical. I think SolarEdge is a little bit stronger, just in the fact that at least it's not all red on their earnings. So maybe that's a decent thing for SolarEdge, but these guys are down a lot. I wonder if Enphase is going to be affected. I'm going to check out Enphase in a second. Yeah, if you're playing a sympathy, I wouldn't play. Yeah, I wouldn't play that SPWR directly. I think I'd want to play more as a sympathy, and probably this one, maybe Enphase. Enphase came up into resistance. You're at some kind of support level now. If that starts to break, that's 120, 115. I think we could at least get to maybe 116, which would be a heck of a day trade, good range on that one. And then if it's a really good day, maybe we make it back to 112.38. But I would look at Enphase as probably just because it's already moved up a lot as well. Where if we take a look back at which one was that? That was SEDG. We've made a little bounce double bottom, but I don't think we have as much range on this one. We could. I mean, if this was coming down, maybe we get to like 86.36, something like that. But I would keep both of those up. Yeah, maybe for solar as well. That might be a good sympathy. Again, it doesn't sound. I mean, it's not good if they're worried about is the company sustainable. That could look for the industry, especially not that it's a newer industry, but relatively compared to, I mean, Coca-Cola. It's a newer industry, I guess, in general. So some people might take it as a comment on the industry, but you've even in the Coca-Cola scenario, you've seen beverage companies go under too. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're all going to take it the same way. But First Solar does have a good little support that we're opening at, very similar to Enphase, so 166.87. We've already kind of come down to this 160.60 and retested it. I would put my targets there if we are looking to short this one, but this is opening inside day. I'd see a little bit more resistance on 174.07. So I was kind of wishing if we were into that zone, that would make more sense, I think, for the short. But yeah, probably at least a little. I think that would definitely add a little pressure to this industry, and then it just comes down to which one. All right, Tesla. Tesla, I've been looking at. I'll post a chart in Slack sometime later today, but we're in a squeeze. We are in I believe it's a weekly TTM squeeze and a daily squeeze. I would actually be watching for Tesla to start to go nuts. I'm waiting to see if we can get any type of pullback. So far at open, we have a little tiny gap up. Well, let's do this. Just so you guys, we have some time. We got 11 minutes. Tesla. So here's our monthly squeeze, right? We got a perfect monthly squeeze on Tesla. So we got momentum starting to go from negative into bullish. We've got the red dots, and we've got all those moving averages lined up. I really want this thing to come back down, and I might have missed the opportunity. Doesn't mean I might try to play it if we come down, but I'd want to get it as close, pick up some options, couple extended amount of time on it. Because if this is the monthly squeeze, we need more than 2 months on those contracts. So maybe like 8-month contracts, something like that. But I'd want it as close as possible to this blue line, which is 21. And that would take me into like 236, somewhere in that zone. But if we can get any type of pullback, I'm looking to buy some call contracts, but that is a perfect monthly squeeze, which means Tesla could definitely grow some legs. The daily, we're not quite there yet. We do have all of those moving averages almost perfectly lined. So not quite there on moving averages. Would like to see this one fall back a little bit. And we are starting to, even though I prefer the histogram at the bottom here to be red to yellow, kind of a bigger swing. We're going from negative momentum, and we are starting to get some positivity. We do have the red dots. We just don't have these quite lined up yet. And then I think the weekly chart also has a good squeeze on it. It kind of reminds me of AMD, even the SPY back in like 2020, right before like a crazy run. So this is a good little wrap around on momentum, starting to go more bullish. We are into the squeeze now. Again, really you're trying to buy it off of the 21. So that's going to put us at somewhere at 237. So it's the same spot, but we have multiple squeezes. So a lot of good potential actually on Tesla. We were watching that 244 level pretty closely. As soon as that one broke, we were off to the races. So I'm watching that one for a little bit longer term, bullish. And for a day trade, this is a little retest gap. Maybe we come down. I'm looking for support 250, 230 if this does retest. Otherwise, targets to the higher side, at least immediate target would be about 254.98. If that breaks, we've got a pretty decent range up to like 263.50. So it depends on this tight opening range which way we want to break. I would, again, I'm waiting to see if we get any type of retest. I'll even start buying some contracts around like 244. I might be early, but if I have enough time on it, I'm okay with it. All right, let's see what else we got. X is up. Yeah, so X is up. Not to be confused with what was formerly known as Twitter. But they have a offer for, I think it was like 40 something billion dollars. Let's see if the news wants to work on this one. Sid just went to announce a deal between US Steel. So that doesn't really tell me anything. But they are potentially looking, yeah, I think it's a Chinese firm. Or Japanese firm. Oh, so 14 billion. So that would put us at $55 a share. Right? So they're looking for a buyout, $55 a share. Pretty good gap on this one. We're not quite at $55, so there might be some room, but also I think there's a little concern maybe the deal doesn't even go through. It's going to be very, very tricky, but 55 would be your max if we could get there today. If we want to run up a little bit further, that $55 would essentially be your target, and it will probably stay there for a bit. Otherwise, you have really good room to the downside if that deal doesn't come through. With that rumor, I don't see much potential for a huge drop on this one, so it'd probably be small, or it'd be. We'll have a little bit of range in here today. I think you are definitely gonna have some people profitable. I think as a quick trade, maybe taking a pre-market breakdown level, something like that, might be decent. Let's see if we have anything in here. This is. We even have those moving averages starting to catch up to us. I'm looking at the volume so far, somewhere around $50.58. So somewhere around there should be the resistance that holds, and then maybe we could play this thing as a fade. This, as soon as this news came out, we got up to 52. So maybe even try to catch it on the retest, $50.62, and then stop 52.12, something like that. But eventually those moving averages probably play a factor. So there's definitely some people profitable, but I don't even know how many people want to sell if they know the target could be 55. Might be looking to hold. New Oriental Education Technology Group. Here's one I don't think I've ever looked at. Good uptrend after a massive downfall. We're pretty much back to we're pretty much back to the medium. It looks like on this stock. I'd also be interested in doing maybe a fib on that last move, because that was a pretty horrific drop. We're into the 38 the 38% retracement. So some level of resistance there. I think we could probably get to a 104.58 target. Not sure how quickly that happens. I definitely don't think on a day trade purpose. But for day trade purpose, kind of a good breakdown. Let's see, was there news on this one too? Was it Chinese stocks had a difficult year? Yada yada yada. Yeah, more I guess in general, but we are definitely. I mean, anybody who was looking to get in this thing short, that was a great close. Really nice close. You felt pretty good about that on Friday. All those guys losing money. I'd be worried a little bit about the resistance, so watch out for like 79.84, maybe $80, somewhere in that zone. Otherwise, we've had a good uptrend. Longer term, I think we do Probably see this 104 again. I mean, I've never traded this one ever. So I don't know how the volume is on it. How spready this one might be. Right now they're saying it's about 27 cents, which is a decent spread. But again, it's also still pre-market. I think it's definitely one to watch, but you got to watch out for that resistance. That is a huge amount of volume. We've had an uptrend, so that's a pullback. If it makes it to $80 though, that's only about $2 of upside. I would have to really think that this thing gets like 83, then have a really nice trade, and then especially if they could break through. We got Amazon. Oh, I got 3 minutes. Amazon looks good for continuation. See if there's a little small pullback here first. It's like a small red candle. Maybe we could take a break bullish, but Amazon does look pretty decent. Immediate target's probably about just under 153, 152.87, something like that. AMD. It's kind of just inside day hanging out. 140 seems to be a strong resistance for it. And we are pretty far extended from a lot of those moving averages. So I wouldn't personally probably look to trade unless, I mean, maybe go with continuation to go higher, but otherwise inside day here. And we've been kind of just chopping since we had that pretty big move. So it could definitely go again, but we need those moving averages, I think, to start catching up to give us some better opportunities. CLF. The Cleveland Cliffs. This might be a sympathy from U.S. Steel. Good gap up though. I think it has at least a little bit more room in this thing to about $20.55. And then I think we have a pretty good day, 21.35, but otherwise I'd want this thing to pull back first a little bit more, I think. This is a retest gap open. Pretty weak close, but still not really trapping bulls. So I think there's some people that still might be profitable in this. All right, let's see. Did I miss any? Roku. The Rokes. Pretty weak close on Friday. Looks like it's trying to come back at least for some kind of a retest. Targets on this one will be about 89.25, but I wouldn't be shorting at the open. See if this thing wants to bounce back a little bit, retest into this 96.36 zone. And then that might be a better spot to continue the short. Nice gap on Zim. Be very careful on Zim. At this point, highly manipulated. Yeah, but pretty good gap. That should be a retest. But like I said, I would personally be very. I don't know if I would day trade Zim. Let's put it that way. I don't mind swing trading it because you can get some good moves. But that was the opening bell. So everybody out on YouTube land, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button, and just be careful of stocks that you're trading. Watch for the volume on it. See if make sure that there is somebody else interested in that stock. Otherwise, it makes liquidity very difficult to find, and it makes it tougher to get into or out of stocks. So just be aware of that. Otherwise,